He confronted death to keep alien princess safe, a human hero's legacy. HFY Stories, best HFY stories. The stars stretched endlessly above Earth, glittering like distant fires in the black canvas of space. Captain Marcus Hale stood on the observation deck of the spaceport, his hands resting lightly on the rail as he watched the first Valorian diplomatic ship approach. The vessel was unlike anything humanity had ever seen, sleek, iridescent, and humming softly with energy that seemed almost alive. People around him whispered and stared, but Marcus felt something deeper. He had faced danger across the galaxy, but this moment carried a weight unlike any other. He wasn't just watching history, he was about to live it. "Captain Hale," a voice called behind him. It was Lieutenant Vega, his second-in-command. "The princess is on board. Are you ready?" Marcus turned, his face set in calm determination. "Ready doesn't cover it, but I'll do my duty." He paused, glancing back at the approaching ship. She may not know it yet, but humans aren't what the Valorians expect. The ship docked with a quiet grace, a smoothness that made the mechanical hum of the port seem almost crude. The doors opened, and a figure emerged. She was small, almost fragile-looking, yet there was a glow about her, a soft radiance that set her apart from anyone Marcus had ever seen. Her skin shimmered faintly under the artificial lights, and her eyes, large and almond-shaped, held a depth that suggested centuries of wisdom. This was Princess Leora, the youngest heir of the Valorian royal house, and someone who was now under Marcus's protection. Marcus stepped forward, his posture respectful yet confident. "Princess Leora," he said, bowing slightly, "welcome to Earth. I am Captain Marcus Hale, assigned as your protector." Leora regarded him carefully, her expression neutral, almost cautious. "Captain Hale," she said, her voice musical and calm. "I have heard stories of humans, brave, yes, but short-lived, fragile in ways my people could never survive." Marcus smiled faintly. "Short-lived maybe, fragile you'd be surprised." She raised an eyebrow but said nothing. There was a moment of silence as both assessed each other. Marcus understood the unspoken challenge. She didn't trust him, nor the species he represented. "Shall we go?" he finally asked, motioning toward the waiting vehicle. The streets of Earth's capital gleamed under neon lights as the convoy moved. Human technology was primitive by Valorian standards, and Leora noticed it immediately. She leaned forward slightly, curiosity breaking through her composure. "You call this your finest transport?" Marcus chuckled. "It may not hover or vanish into light, but it gets the job done, and it's built to last when things get complicated." Leora studied him, her large eyes reflecting the city lights. "I will be watching," she said simply. Hours passed in tense conversation and cautious observation. Marcus knew that her life was under constant threat. Across the galaxy, factions who wished to destabilize her rule would stop at nothing to seize power. And she, as the princess, had become a symbol of vulnerability and hope all at once. Marcus's responsibility was clear: keep her alive at all costs. As the convoy reached the center of the city, an unusual silence fell. Streetlights flickered for a moment, and then a sudden movement caught Marcus's attention. His instincts sharpened. Something was wrong. From the shadows, a small, almost invisible drone shot toward the convoy at incredible speed. It was sleek, mechanical, and deadly in design. The crowd screamed, chaos erupting in the streets. Marcus's heart rate didn't rise. Years of combat and training had prepared him for this. "Princess, down!" he shouted, grabbing her and pressing her to the floor of the vehicle. The drone's weapons discharged, a stream of energy that scorched the asphalt. Sparks flew, shattering the quiet night with deadly precision. Marcus reacted with perfect timing, diving to block the impact and using the vehicle itself as a shield. His body tensed, every muscle responding to the threat. Leora gasped, clutching his arm, but Marcus didn't falter. The vehicle's tires skidded as Marcus pushed forward, maneuvering through the crowded streets with expert skill. The drone followed, relentless, but Marcus was relentless too. He drove with intuition, calculating angles and distances with a precision that seemed almost superhuman. It was the kind of daring humans had mastered not through technology, but through instinct and courage. "Marcus, it's too fast," Leora cried, her fear evident now. "Not for us," Marcus replied, eyes fixed on the drone as he made a sudden sharp turn down a narrow alley. The drone attempted to follow but collided with the wall, sparks flying. It reeled, momentarily disabled. Leora's eyes widened in astonishment. "How?" Marcus didn't answer. Humans adapt, he said simply, guiding the vehicle out of the alley and back onto the main road. We survive, we improvise, and we fight when we have to. The drone recovered, spinning around to chase them once more. Marcus knew they needed a plan. They couldn't outrun it forever. Looking around, he noticed the neon signs and scaffolding lining the streets. An idea formed in his mind, a risky maneuver, but humans often thrived on risk. "Hold on," he shouted. With a sudden burst, Marcus accelerated toward a scaffolding-covered construction site. The drone followed, but the narrow space and human ingenuity worked in their favor. Marcus used the scaffolding to blind the drone's sensors, weaving through the metal structures like a dancer. Sparks flew, the drone's energy weapons misfiring against the metal beams. Leora clutched his arm, eyes wide with a mix of fear and awe. "You're incredible," she whispered. Marcus allowed himself a faint smile. "You have no idea what humans can do when we put our minds to it." The chase ended as abruptly as it had begun. The drone, tangled and disabled, fell to the ground in a heap of sparking metal. Marcus brought the vehicle to a stop, breathing heavily but uninjured. Leora sat back, her expression softening. She had underestimated humans, and now she understood a truth her people often ignored. Humans could be fearless, clever, and utterly relentless when protecting what mattered. "Captain," she said quietly, "you saved my life tonight." Marcus shrugged. "We're just getting started, Princess. The galaxy is full of threats and your enemies won't wait. But if there's one thing I know, humans don't back down." For the first time, Leora smiled, not out of politeness, but genuine respect. "Then perhaps I have much to learn from you." The night sky stretched above them as the convoy continued its journey. In the distance, the stars of other worlds shimmered, and Marcus felt a sense of purpose unlike any he had known. Protecting the princess was more than duty. It was a chance to show that humanity could stand among the greatest civilizations of the galaxy, not by sheer strength, but by courage, ingenuity, and the refusal to surrender. As Earth's lights faded behind them and the convoy entered the calm darkness of the outer atmosphere, Marcus allowed himself a moment of reflection. The universe was vast, full of dangers beyond imagining, and filled with civilizations that doubted the worth of humans. Yet here he was, a single human standing against the unknown, protecting a life that could change the course of a civilization. Leora leaned back, watching him with an expression that mingled curiosity and newfound trust. "You are unlike anyone I have met," she said softly. Marcus glanced at her, the corners of his lips lifting in a wry smile. "That's the thing about humans, we're full of surprises." The stars stretched before them like a promise. And in that moment, Marcus Hale understood that this mission was no ordinary duty. It was the beginning of a legacy, a story of courage and hope that would ripple across the stars, showing that even in the darkest corners of the universe, humanity could shine. And so, with the galaxy waiting and danger lurking in every shadow, Captain Marcus Hale and Princess Leora embarked on a journey that would test every limit, every skill, and every ounce of courage they possessed. The story of a human hero's legacy was just beginning, and the stars themselves seemed to lean in, eager to watch what would come next. The stars passed silently outside the cockpit window as the human ship streaked through the void. Captain Marcus Hale guided it with practiced hands, each movement smooth, precise, and purposeful. Beside him, Princess Leora remained quiet, her eyes scanning the endless darkness of space, filled with both curiosity and unease. The events on Earth had left a mark, but Marcus knew that the real danger was only beginning. "We're not safe yet," Marcus said softly, breaking the silence. "That drone was just a test. Whoever sent it wants to see how far we'll go to protect you." Leora's lips pressed together. "I had thought humans were simple, but you are unpredictable, dangerous in ways I do not understand." Marcus smiled faintly. "Good dangerous or bad dangerous?" "Perhaps good," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. For hours they flew in tense silence. Leora studied the human ship with fascination. It was small compared to her own starships, lacking the sleek energy fields and near-light-speed engines she was accustomed to, yet there was something admirable about its design. Every system, every control panel had a purpose, and every flaw had been overcome by human ingenuity. She had to admit, grudgingly, that Marcus had used this imperfect vessel to outwit a deadly drone. That was skill no Valorian could teach. "Do you always take risks like that?" she asked suddenly, breaking into his thoughts. Marcus shrugged. Only when necessary, humans survive because we take risks other species would avoid. Instinct, courage, and a little bit of luck, that's how we do it. Leora nodded slowly, absorbing his words. There was truth in them, a truth that her people often ignored. Valorians were trained for perfection, to calculate every possibility and avoid mistakes at all costs. Humans did not always succeed, yet somehow they found a way. That alone commanded respect. Suddenly, a faint blip appeared on the radar. Marcus squinted. "We've got company, mercenaries, most likely. Someone wants you dead more than they want diplomacy." Leora stiffened. "How many?" Marcus studied the display. "A small fleet. Enough to make things difficult if we stay in one place." "Then we must move quickly," she said, her voice firm. The shift in her tone surprised Marcus. The princess was beginning to think like a human, direct, decisive, and ready to act. Marcus nodded. "Exactly. We'll use the nebula up ahead. Thick clouds, interference with sensors. We can hide there while we plan our next move." The nebula appeared as a swirling mass of purple and blue, like a painter's wild stroke across the black canvas of space. As they entered it, the sensors on the ship flickered and warped. Marcus's hands moved with steady precision, guiding the ship through turbulence, avoiding electrical storms and jagged ice formations floating like hidden mines. Leora clutched the edge of her seat, but she did not complain. She was learning, slowly, the human ability to endure uncertainty and danger with calm determination. Hours passed in tense navigation. Marcus taught her small tricks, how to anticipate turbulence, how to read the energy fluctuations of the nebula, and how to remain calm when every warning light screamed danger. Leora listened intently, absorbing each lesson. There was no arrogance in Marcus, no self-promotion, only clear instruction born of experience. By the time they emerged from the nebula, the fleet of mercenaries had lost them, unable to penetrate the cloud of interference. Leora exhaled, a mixture of relief and awe on her face. "You really are remarkable," she admitted. Marcus chuckled lightly. "I told you humans survive. Sometimes we even make it look easy." They set course for a remote outpost on a small, uninhabited moon, a place Marcus knew few aliens would dare visit. The facility was old, built during humanity's first attempts at deep space exploration. Its walls were scratched, its systems patched together over decades, yet it was solid and reliable. For Marcus, it was the perfect place to rest and plan. Inside the outpost, Leora walked slowly, examining the walls and equipment. "You call this a sanctuary?" she asked, her tone tinged with disbelief. "It seems primitive," Marcus smiled. "Primitive, yes. Reliable, absolutely. You'll find humans often choose function over beauty. We survive because we make do, and we make the impossible work." She considered this, watching him. The more time she spent with Marcus, the more she realized that humans had something Valorians often lacked: adaptability. In the face of danger, humans could improvise, make quick decisions, and find solutions where others saw only obstacles. It was a skill born not from perfection, but from necessity, and from courage. As night fell, Marcus prepared a small meal, simple but nutritious. Leora observed, fascinated by the care he put into the simplest tasks. "Even your meals seem considered," she said. Marcus laughed softly. "Even in war, humans remember to live. Food, rest, laughter, they keep us strong." Leora nodded slowly. There was wisdom in his words, and perhaps a lesson for her own people. Strength was not only in fleets and weapons, but in resilience, in the ability to endure and adapt, in the willingness to face danger and continue forward. The next morning, they began preparing for the next phase of their journey. Marcus had discovered evidence of a broader conspiracy against Leora, not just mercenaries, but factions within her own court. The revelation unsettled her, but Marcus reassured her. "No matter how dangerous it seems, we'll handle it. Humans don't back down from impossible odds." Leora looked at him, studying his calm expression. There was certainty in him, a confidence born of experience and conviction. It was contagious. "Then we will proceed," she said, her voice steady. "Together." They left the outpost and headed toward the coordinates Marcus had identified. The journey was tense, requiring constant vigilance. Mercenaries appeared again, tracking them across star systems, but Marcus's skill kept them just out of reach. Each encounter tested their reflexes, their strategy, and their trust in each other. Leora began to rely on Marcus not only for protection, but for guidance, learning the human way of solving problems with courage and creativity rather than brute force or calculation alone. One day, while navigating a dense asteroid field, Leora spoke quietly. "Captain, how do humans face danger with such calm?" Marcus glanced at her. "We don't always. We feel fear, doubt, uncertainty, but we act anyway. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's deciding something is worth it even if you're afraid." She considered this deeply, realizing how different it was from her own people's training. Valorians were taught to avoid risk, to plan and calculate endlessly. Humans, she saw now, thrived in chaos. They created solutions from nothing, relied on instinct, and refused to surrender. As they neared the final system on their route, Marcus detected a familiar energy signature, another mercenary patrol. Leora's heart tightened. "They are relentless," she whispered. Marcus nodded. "They think humans are weak, easy prey. They're about to learn otherwise." What followed was a test of every skill Marcus had taught her. They navigated the patrol using asteroid cover, timed maneuvers, and careful distractions. Leora assisted, her decisions sharper, her confidence growing. Together, human ingenuity and Valorian precision formed an unexpected team, capable of outsmarting enemies who underestimated them both. When the patrol finally passed without discovering them, Leora turned to Marcus, her eyes bright with newfound respect. "I underestimated humans," she admitted. "You are remarkable." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. "I told you, humans survive. Sometimes we even make it look easy." As the stars continued to streak past, Leora realized something profound. The galaxy had always seemed dangerous, a place where power and politics ruled. Yet with humans like Marcus, she saw hope. Hope that courage, cleverness, and loyalty could shape the future as much as technology or strength. Humans were underestimated, yes, but in that underestimation lay their greatest power. By the time they reached their destination, a hidden starbase on the edge of the system, Leora was no longer just a princess under protection. She had begun to see the universe through human eyes, learning patience, adaptability, and courage. She understood that Marcus's bravery was not just personal, it represented a potential for all humanity. Marcus guided the ship to a hidden landing platform, shutting down systems and securing the vessel. Leora stepped out first, breathing the recycled air of the starbase. She turned to him, expression thoughtful. "Perhaps there is much my people can learn from you, from humans," Marcus nodded. "And perhaps there's much you can teach humans in return, but remember this, out here in the darkness of space, we survive because we refuse to give up. We protect what matters, and we find a way no matter the odds." For the first time, Leora smiled fully, a smile of understanding and resolve. "Then I am grateful to have you by my side, Captain Marcus Hale." He allowed himself a quiet satisfaction. The galaxy was still dangerous, and the challenges ahead would be greater than anything they had faced. Yet for the first time, Marcus knew that this mission would not only protect a life but create a legend, one that would remind every civilization that humans, though underestimated, were forces to be reckoned with. The hidden starbase was quiet, almost eerily so, but Marcus Hale knew better than to trust appearances. Danger often hid in calm places, and he had learned through countless missions that the most deadly threats were the ones you could not see. Princess Leora moved beside him, her steps careful but confident. She had changed since Earth, since the chase through the nebula. She was no longer just a princess under protection. She was a student of human courage, learning to think like someone who refused to be helpless in the face of danger. Marcus guided her to a secure chamber, where they would review the intelligence he had gathered. The holographic map flickered to life between them, showing the layout of the mercenary base they needed to infiltrate. It floated in mid-air, glowing lines outlining structures, patrol routes, and the locations of key personnel. "This is the place," Marcus said. "It's heavily guarded but not impenetrable. Most of their security is designed to scare, not to withstand careful planning. Humans have a way of seeing solutions where others see walls." Leora studied the map, her brow furrowed. "It is dangerous if we are discovered." Marcus shook his head. "Then we adapt, we improvise, that is what humans do. We survive because we think and we act when others hesitate." She nodded slowly. She had already begun to understand his philosophy. Courage was more than bravery. It was the ability to act despite fear, to use one's mind as much as one's strength. And Marcus was a master at both. They spent hours planning. Marcus assigned roles carefully, showing Leora how to read patterns, anticipate movements, and exploit weaknesses. The Valorian princess, though inexperienced in combat, absorbed every detail, her mind sharpening with each strategy he explained. Humans relied on more than raw power. They relied on intelligence, creativity, and timing. Leora realized that in this regard, they were far more dangerous than the mercenaries expected. Night fell over the starbase, and the silence of the corridors seemed almost alive. Marcus led the way through the shadows, moving with quiet efficiency. Leora followed, her earlier fears replaced with focus and determination. Every step brought them closer to the heart of the base, and closer to confrontation with the leader of the mercenaries, the one orchestrating the attacks against her. They reached the outer perimeter of the central compound. Marcus paused, his hand on the wall, listening. The patrols were precise but predictable, moving along paths determined by routine. Humans had a way of noticing patterns others overlooked, and Marcus intended to use that to their advantage. "This way," he whispered. "Follow my lead exactly. Timing is everything." Leora mirrored his movements, each step calculated and deliberate. The air was tense, filled with the quiet hum of machinery and the distant sounds of activity within the compound. Every shadow was a potential threat, yet Marcus moved with unwavering confidence. Humans were not always the fastest or the strongest, but they were clever, adaptable, and fearless when necessary. They reached a side entrance, lightly secured and often overlooked. Marcus worked quickly, using tools and intuition rather than force. The door clicked open silently and they slipped inside. The interior was dimly lit, metallic and cold, but Marcus's presence seemed to make the darkness less intimidating. Leora followed closely, her eyes adjusting, her mind alert to every sound and movement. As they moved deeper, Marcus whispered instructions. "Stay close, watch patterns, remember what we planned. Improvisation is allowed, but only when necessary." They encountered their first obstacle, a corridor with moving security barriers. The timing was tricky. Leora froze for a moment, unsure, but Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder. "Trust yourself. Humans survive by acting, not hesitating." Taking a deep breath, Leora stepped forward. She moved with surprising precision, slipping past the barriers as Marcus guided her from a few steps behind. It was her first test, and she had passed it. A small smile flickered across her face. They continued, encountering locked doors, patrols, and sensors. Marcus used every trick he knew: distractions, misdirection, and careful observation. Leora began to see the patterns, learning to anticipate movements and react instinctively. She realized that human strength was not only in physical endurance, but in the mind's ability to adapt, to create solutions where others saw impossibilities. At last, they reached the central control room. Through the reinforced glass, Marcus saw the mercenary leader, a tall figure moving with authority and precision. He was confident, arrogant, believing himself untouchable. Marcus knew better. Human courage, when combined with intelligence and timing, could overcome arrogance and skill alike. Leora looked at Marcus, her expression resolute. "This is it," she said. Marcus nodded. "Remember everything we practiced. We are not just fighting to survive, we are fighting to protect what matters. Humans do not give up." They entered the room with quiet precision. Marcus had created a diversion, drawing the leader's attention while Leora moved to secure the information they needed, the proof of betrayal within her own court. Together, they worked with a rhythm that was almost seamless, Marcus handling the challenges that required improvisation and courage, Leora focusing on precision and analysis. The leader finally noticed them. His eyes narrowed, and for the first time he seemed surprised. Marcus stood firm, unflinching, his presence calm yet imposing. "You underestimated humans," he said. "That was your first mistake." The leader advanced, confident in his abilities, but Marcus anticipated his every move. Using clever tactics, he redirected the leader's focus while Leora accessed the central systems. It was a delicate dance of skill and strategy. Humans were not invincible, but they were unpredictable, able to create solutions from the chaos of the unexpected. Within minutes, Leora secured the data they needed, evidence of the betrayal, names, communications, and plans. She handed it to Marcus, who stored it safely. The mercenary leader realized he was losing control, frustration flickering across his face. Marcus moved closer, his presence commanding yet unthreatening. "It's over. You underestimated us. Humanity survives not because we are the strongest, but because we are clever, adaptable, and fearless when it matters most." The leader hesitated, assessing the situation. He realized that brute force alone would not win against humans who combined courage with intelligence. He retreated, understanding that this encounter had ended, at least for now. Marcus guided Leora out of the control room and back through the corridors, their path clear for the moment. They paused outside, taking a moment to breathe. Leora looked at Marcus, awe and respect evident in her eyes. You have shown me something remarkable. Humans are more than I imagined. Bravery, yes, but also wisdom, adaptability, courage combined with intelligence. Marcus smiled faintly. It's what humans do. We face the impossible and find a way. We protect what matters and refuse to give up. And sometimes we teach others to do the same. Leora considered this. Her understanding of humans had grown exponentially in a short time. She saw now that their underestimated nature was their greatest strength. They could survive, adapt, and overcome challenges that more advanced species might fail against simply because humans refuse to be predictable. As they exited the base and returned to their ship, Marcus spoke quietly. This was only a test, Princess. The galaxy is full of challenges like this, but you now know what humans can do. Courage, intelligence, determination, they are not limited by species, and neither is hope. Leora nodded. Then I am grateful for your guidance. You have not only protected me, Captain, but shown me a new way to face danger and uncertainty. Perhaps one day I will lead my people with this understanding. Marcus allowed himself a quiet satisfaction. Protecting her was more than duty. It was creating a legacy, one that would inspire not just one civilization, but many. Humans were underestimated, yes, but their courage and ingenuity would leave a mark across the stars. A reminder that even in the darkest corners of the universe, the human spirit could shine. The ship lifted off from the starbase, leaving the mercenary threat behind for now. The journey ahead remained perilous, with new challenges waiting in the unknown reaches of space. But Marcus and Leora were ready. They had learned from each other, combined their strengths, and discovered that courage and intelligence together could overcome almost any obstacle. As the stars stretched out before them, Leora turned to Marcus. You have shown me that humans are not just survivors, but heroes in their own right. Perhaps one day the galaxy will understand this fully. Marcus nodded, eyes on the stars. They will. And the story will grow, one act of courage at a time. In that moment, the bond between human and princess strengthened, a bond forged not only in survival, but in mutual respect, trust, and understanding. The universe was vast, full of dangers and possibilities, but Marcus Hale knew one thing for certain. Wherever humans walked, hope would follow, and wherever they fought, legends would be born. And so the journey continued, deeper into the unknown, where courage, intelligence, and determination would be tested again, and where the legacy of a human hero was being written across the stars. And as they looked out at the stars together, both human and alien understood one simple truth. Courage, ingenuity, and determination were not bound by species. They were universal. And with these qualities, even the most impossible challenges could be overcome. The distant stars glimmered like scattered diamonds as Captain Marcus Hale and Princess Leora's ship approached the Valorian capital. From orbit, the planet looked serene, its blue oceans and green continents peaceful, almost inviting. But Marcus knew better than to be deceived by appearances. Political betrayal had threatened Leora's life once, and there were still those who sought to undermine her rule. The real challenge awaited them on the surface. Captain, are we ready? Leora asked, her tone steady, but with an undercurrent of tension. She had changed since Earth, since the chase through the nebula and the infiltration of the mercenary base. She was no longer the hesitant princess who had first trusted him. She was a leader who understood the value of courage, intelligence, and careful planning. Marcus nodded. As ready as we'll ever be. Remember, we've faced the impossible before, and humans have a way of turning the odds in their favor. We'll do it again. The ship touched down quietly on a secluded platform near the palace grounds. Guards and advisors watched, wary of the returning princess, their expressions a mixture of relief and suspicion. Marcus stepped out first, his posture calm yet authoritative, a human unafraid to face the unknown. Leora followed, her head held high, carrying the air of someone who had survived and learned. They were met by an emissary, someone Leora had trusted before, but Marcus could sense the unease. Princess, the emissary began, welcome back, but there are complications. Marcus's gaze hardened, He had learned to read subtle signs of deception. "Complications that endanger her?" he asked calmly. The emissary hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, some factions within the court do not accept your return. They doubt your ability to lead and wish to seize control." Leora's eyes narrowed. "Then we must show them I am the rightful heir, and I will not allow my people or my life to be used as a bargaining tool." Marcus smiled faintly. "That's the spirit. Humans face challenges like this every day, Princess, and we find ways to win without relying solely on force." Together, they entered the palace. The corridors were grand, adorned with alien symbols and glowing artwork that spoke of centuries of Valorian culture. Yet beneath the beauty, Marcus could feel tension, whispers of uncertainty and distrust. Every step was a careful balance of diplomacy and demonstration of strength. In the council chamber, the opposing factions waited, their expressions wary and calculating. Leora stepped forward, holding the data Marcus had recovered from the mercenary base. It was evidence of betrayal, communication logs, and proof of the factions' secret alliances. She placed the information before the council, her voice clear and commanding. "These are the truths you have ignored," she said. "These are the plans to overthrow me, to destabilize our people. I have returned not as a pawn, but as your leader, and I will not allow fear, greed, or ambition to guide the fate of our civilization." A hush fell over the chamber. The council members examined the data, their expressions shifting from disbelief to acknowledgement. Marcus stood beside Leora, silent but imposing, his presence a reminder that humans were not easily intimidated, and that courage and cleverness could shift outcomes in unexpected ways. One of the senior members spoke, voice trembling. "Princess, this is undeniable. Yet some among us still doubt your strength to lead." Leora met the gaze calmly. "Strength is not only in power, but in wisdom, courage, and the willingness to act when it matters most. I have survived threats that sought to end my life. I have learned from humans that courage and intelligence together can overcome impossible odds. I am ready to lead, not because I am fearless, but because I refuse to surrender." The council murmured among themselves. Marcus watched quietly, knowing that the combination of evidence, Leora's resolve, and the aura of trust and respect humans inspired was turning the tide. Alien societies often underestimated humans, seeing them as short-lived and simple. Yet here, before the eyes of the Valorians, human ingenuity and courage were clear. The final test came in the form of a challenge issued by the most skeptical council member, a demonstration of capability and wisdom. Leora accepted, confident in the lessons Marcus had taught her and in her own understanding of leadership. She solved complex problems, anticipated potential threats, and devised strategies that combined Valorian precision with human adaptability. Marcus could see her transformation. She was no longer just the princess. She was a leader forged in challenge, strengthened by courage, and guided by intelligence. Humans did not simply react, they adapted, improvised, and overcame. Leora had learned this, and now she wielded it with confidence. The council voted. One by one, the factions acknowledged her rightful place. The murmurs of dissent quieted, replaced with respect and cautious admiration. Leora turned to Marcus, her expression grateful but resolute. "Thank you," she said softly. "You have shown me the value of courage and intelligence, and I will carry it forward for my people." Marcus smiled, feeling a quiet pride. "Humans survive because we act when others hesitate. We face the impossible and find a way. You've learned that now, and your people will benefit from it." With the council secured and the threat neutralized, Leora addressed her people from the grand balcony of the palace. She spoke of unity, courage, and the lessons she had learned from humans. Her words resonated deeply, reminding her people that strength was not only in technology or control, but in determination, intelligence, and the willingness to act for what is right. Marcus stood at her side, observing silently. Humans often went unrecognized, underestimated by others who judged them by size, lifespan, or appearance. Yet time and again, humans had proven that courage, ingenuity, and loyalty could change the course of events. Here in the Valorian capital, that truth was evident. In the weeks that followed, alliances strengthened and the palace grew stable. Leora's leadership flourished, guided by the understanding she had gained from humans. She implemented strategies that balanced Valorian precision with human adaptability, creating systems that were both effective and resilient. Marcus continued to advise her, not as a protector bound only by duty, but as a teacher of the human way, of courage, improvisation, and resilience. Leora learned to trust her instincts, to make decisions quickly yet wisely, and to act decisively in the face of uncertainty. Word of their success spread across the galaxy. Other civilizations began to recognize humans not as fragile or short-lived, but as clever, courageous, and unpredictable. The reputation of humanity grew, a reminder that even when underestimated, humans could leave a lasting impact. One evening, on a quiet balcony overlooking the city lights, Leora turned to Marcus. "You have changed more than my understanding of humans. You have changed my understanding of leadership, of courage, and of hope." Marcus looked at her, the stars reflected in his eyes. "Humans have a way of doing that," he said simply. "We face what others fear, we survive what others think impossible, and we protect what matters. That's who we are." She smiled, the weight of responsibility balanced by a sense of confidence she had never known before. "Then your legacy is not just in protecting me, Captain. It is in showing me and my people what courage and intelligence can achieve." Marcus felt a quiet warmth. Legacy was not about fame or recognition. It was about impact, about inspiring others to rise above fear and uncertainty. He had done that for Leora and through her for her people. As the stars stretched endlessly above, Marcus and Leora looked outward, understanding that the galaxy was vast, filled with both danger and opportunity. Together, they had faced impossible odds, navigated treachery and deception, and emerged stronger. The bond between human and princess was a testament to courage, trust, and collaboration across species. And as the galaxy turned, word of their deeds traveled across systems. Humans were no longer underestimated. They were recognized as clever, brave, and capable of shaping events in ways others could not foresee. Marcus Hale's actions and the lessons he imparted had left a mark that would echo through the stars for generations. Leora placed a hand on his shoulder. "Captain, humanity's reputation will grow because of what we have done together. You have ensured that the galaxy knows humans are not to be underestimated." Marcus allowed himself a faint smile. "That is enough. Humans do not need recognition. We act because it is right. But yes, sometimes it is good to see the universe remember." The two stood in silence, looking out at the infinite expanse of stars, feeling the quiet satisfaction of victory and the promise of the future. The galaxy was dangerous, full of unknown challenges, yet with courage, intelligence, and determination, humans and their allies could face anything. And in that moment, Marcus understood fully that his legacy was not just in acts of bravery or cunning. It was in inspiring others to act, to survive, to overcome. It was in proving, once and for all, that humans were not merely observers in the galaxy. They were heroes, capable of shaping the future, leaving a mark that no one could ignore. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter that night, as if acknowledging the courage of one human and the legacy he had helped create. And far across the galaxy, civilizations would remember that when humans walked among them, hope followed, and where they fought, legends were born.